Hey, how's it going YouTube, and welcome to another video about my old sled. Today I'm going to do a couple things to the Snowmobile to give it a bit of a facelift, and so I thought I'd share that with you, but I'm also going to talk to you about finding parts for a classic Snowmobile, because that can be a bit of a challenge. And I want to start with talking about my three favorite words: new, old, stock. So obviously, in addition to riding it when we get some snow, I spend part of my time maintaining the Snowmobile or repairing it. But part of the fun of owning a Snowmobile is when other people say, hey man, that's a nice sled. And you know what, for 1997, my Snowmobile's in fairly decent shape, but that's because I spend a lot of my time looking for parts. So there's a couple of things that I do to find parts for the sled on a regular basis. So firstly, just to eBay, as simple as that sounds. But just to remember to search for new old stock, or NOS. You quite often see it abbreviated. The second place that I found, I actually talked to Bombardier, and they gave me the contact information of the dealership that handles their obsolete stock, which was a great help. So that place is, I'm going to go ahead and put the website up on the screen for you. It's Fullerton's BRP Product Specialists. So they carry a lot of new old stock. They still don't carry everything, so if something's really obsolete or discontinued, you may not be able to get it. But a lot of the parts that I purchased through Fullerton's. Or like I said, on eBay, you quite often find new old stock. I mean, sometimes you're just stuck looking for a used part, and be really careful. One of the things that I found buying online, it's really easy to make things look new in a photograph that you're viewing on your screen. So make sure you ask a lot of questions when you buy things online. So, again, I'm not spending a ton of money, and I'm not putting out a lot up front. I just, basically every day I just do a search for my sled, make and model and year, so 97 MXZ 670, new old stock. So for example, this is a new air cover. I'll show you the one on the sled, why I need to replace it, but it's a cover for the air filter on the dash. So nice new piece of plastic there. It's going to get rid of a little rattle, and it's going to look better. I think it was about 14 bucks. So it's not expensive, and then, it's just kind of a regular hobby. As much as owning the Snowmobile, it's hunting for parts. And we're not always talking about spending hundreds of dollars here. Sometimes it's something as simple as a washer or a couple of bolts. Get rid of those old crappy ones. It makes these were only a few cents each, and it makes a huge difference in the overall look of the sled. This is the first one, and it's fairly common. The plastic underneath this is broken. Again, it's not a major thing, but it does rattle when you ride. Okay, so we just removed the 3 screws on the back, and we'll reuse that foam. And you can see here that the holes for the screws are all cracked and broken. So I'll take that one out. That's the other cool thing about replacing parts on the sled, is you can kind of use the opportunity to clean underneath them. Okay, so I clean that off, and you pretty much want to use a degreaser anytime you're cleaning anything on a sled. There seems to be grease gets onto everything. I just used a bit of spray 9, and it actually does make a difference. You're not that conscious of the dirt under parts like that, but you do see it around the edges. Okay, we'll just reuse that foam. It's not torn or anything. This actually, a lot of dehumidifiers and things like that use a foam like this. So you can actually, if you just go to a Home Depot, if you did need to replace that, it wouldn't be too hard to cut a piece to fit. And we've bought 3 nice new 8mm screws to put that in from Fullerton. So mechanically this part doesn't make much difference at all, but the overall effect, a nice new intake cover and the dash all cleaned, and it's nice and tight and it won't rattle. It makes a difference for the few dollars and the few minutes I spent. Those bolts and the skis there, I replaced those with stainless. So again, it was not even $1 a piece, I think. And overall it makes the sled look a lot better. I have another piece of advice that I think might help. It's always try and find the part number when you're trying to find parts for your Snowmobile. And the reason I say that is different people refer to different things with different names, so it can be quite confusing. So you're looking for a pipe, or you're looking for an expansion chamber. So getting the part number is helpful. Now, one of the things that I found, in the case of Skidoo products, I can go to a place like Skidoo Parts Warehouse or a lot of the parts dealers online, and they'll have the parts diagrams, or the old microfiche, even for the older sled. So even sometimes when they don't have the part, or it's no longer available, or it's obsolete, they do have the number. And you'd be amazed sometimes if you just Google a part by number, how often you'll be able to find it. The other thing that's an advantage is a lot of times those same dealers online, you can search parts by that number, and it'll list the different models that part is used on. So with my 97 MXZ670, for example, the temperature gauge, which was an aftermarket dealer installed part on my sled, was stock on the Grand Touring for that year. So a lot of times, you'll just having the number, you know, you can do a little bit of research, and then you can find out, looking for a different sled, you might find the part you're looking for. So I usually go to skidooparts.com, and I'll go to choose the year of my snowmobile and the model. And then you'll see there's parts diagrams for basically every part of the sled. I'm going to go to cab and console. So for example, you know, one of the things that I'll show you today is this piece of trim here on the dash where the pole star goes through. And if I go over to here, I'll see dash and its handle. And then I get the part number here. But the other kind of cool thing, if I click on that, it'll show me all of the other models and assemblies that this particular part is used in. And then if I copy that number, you know, even if I go, we'll just go back here. You know, you'll see when you don't see a price here, that generally means that part's not available. So it's an older, unavailable part. Sometimes they'll show you, like here, it's been replaced with this part. But if it's not available, that doesn't mean I can't find it. It's still handy because I can then just Google that part number. And, you know, a lot of times you'll be able to find a decent used one or even new old stock somewhere just by having the part number. You know, here again, this black piece of trim here, it's starting to crack. I don't know if you can see that in around the reverse lever. You're starting to get a few cracks there. So this panel's held on. I got one rivet here to drill out. I've got a torque screw up here. And then the other thing we're going to do, this pin and push rivet that hold the reverse linkage together, I've ordered replacements for that. They're nasty and rusty, so for the few cents it is to replace those, I've ordered new ones for that as well, because we need to get this handle out of the way to get that panel off. I'm going to do another video on the tools that I have with the snowmobile, but this is one thing that you really want to get, a little magnetic dish so you can stick it to your sled, but you're also not dropping screws down into the cowl. Okay, this is kind of hard for me to do with two hands and still hold the camera, but this rivet, you're going to find if you're taking this out on your sled that you're going to have to hold the back of it when you drill it, because it'll just spin. So there's another reason to replace a part like this, even though it doesn't have a huge impact on the mechanics of the sled. If you look at the top here, this one had broken off. So that one hole in the part, the torque screw goes through both pieces, the dash there under the handlebars and the top of this. But because it had broken off, the previous owner just put like a self-tapping screw, which did hold the piece on, but you know, then you end up with vibration and pieces not fitting properly. So again, don't get lazy here. While you got this sled apart, use the opportunity to clean this stuff off. It's not just about the way it looks. When you get dirt and grime accumulating, you know, it ends up being abrasive and it wears on parts. Your sled will last a lot longer in general if you keep it clean. And there again, this is plastic, so we're going to hit it with some of that UV protectant. And we'll go ahead and put our rivet and our push washer back in. Just push this on. Just make sure that this is going to engage. And pull it into reverse. And of course, when we thread this rope through, we just want to make sure that it's going where it was and that there's no obstruction, that you haven't put it over the brake line. There we go. Nice new part. It's nice and tight. There's no vibration. Fits perfect, and it's nice and clean and new looking. The other thing, this was another piece of new old stock that I replaced, this dash here, and I ordered new decals for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the website up on the screen for where you can get the decals for your sled, because that's another thing that ends up fading and looking like hell over time, and it's not overly expensive to replace. So I hope you found that tip useful, and if you did, go ahead and hit like or subscribe, and I'll see you next time. And you know what, if you've got any other ideas about where you can find new old stock or good used parts for your particular make and model of snowmobile, go ahead and post it in the comments and you'll help somebody else out. I'll talk to you next time.